Hey everybody, Adam Savage here at Prop Store with my friend Brandon Allinger. It's good to see you, sir.
Hey Adam, always good to see you.
We have some amazing pieces here. 3 pieces from 2 movies by one genius.
Yes, yeah, so these are all in our upcoming Entertainment Memorabilia Live auction. They're all stop motion puppets with real ball and socket armatures and all made by and from the collection of Doug Beswick.
So these were actually in his personal collection.
Yeah, he's had these ever since he wrapped filming. Doug Beswick is a well-known stop motion guy and frequent collaborator of Rick Baker. I think they were buddies when they were teenagers and did
You were
loads
telling
of
me he
stuff.
built some of the Cantina aliens.
Yes, yeah, he was one of those guys who did the second unit Cantina stuff they did here in the US. Doug specifically did the band member. So he sculpted it, he cast it, painted it, all the band members, and I think he wore one of them in the film because all those guys were in the movie in addition to doing the work. So, and we actually have one of those band members in the auction too. But today we're talking about puppets, right? So
we have 2, on the outside, we have 2 Gremlins.
Yes.
And when you say ball and socket joints, I want to be clear, like when Willis O'Brien built the first stop motion puppet for King Kong, he essentially invented the stop motion armature in one fell swoop with little balls captured in cups with tightenable screws. And that is effectively still what is being used for stop motion. It's what Phil Tippett's been doing for the latest Mandalorian stop motion.
Right.
But here, this is all built inside a foam master. So the armature's cast inside it. Is that right?
I think that's right, yeah, because it's a sculpted puppet and the main body is foam latex. The wings, I understand, are, Doug was telling me it's a fabric that was coated with like a latex, not foam latex, a different type of latex, so that it could kind of stretch and move. And the wings obviously are the most delicate part, but you can kind of see there's a few places, like on the back, there's actually a slit in the puppet's body to get access to tighten up the armature and that sort of thing.
And this might be one of the most beautiful paint jobs I have ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fantastic.
When I'm looking at this stuff close up, you know, I like to point out to the viewers that I don't get super precious about an airbrush, but I feel like I'm seeing some of the finest airbrush work I can imagine on this thing.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I don't know who did the paint work. I don't know if it was the same guys who were painting the full-size puppets at Rick Baker's shop, because obviously they had a full-size puppet of this as well for interacting with actors and things like that. I think where it's actually flying and it has more motion, you're seeing the stop-motion version.
And then let's talk about this spider.
Yeah,
guy.
This one I think is just fantastic. It's a beautiful scale.
Insanely huge.
Yes, yeah.
And you said they built a full-size one of these.
Yeah, we actually sold the full-size one a few years ago. It was about 8 feet wide. It was massive. So this is a little bit more manageable scale. It has that same fantastic paint job that you're talking about. And I think that Doug was telling me this is only in the film in 1 or 2 shots. There's like a wide shot where he comes around a corner in a hallway and he's walking. But you know, to get him to really walk, the stop motion puppet could achieve a better effect, you know? But you can see like a little bit of exposed armature here right at the joint of the leg.
Little screw ends sometimes. And it's the reason these end up showing up is because this has been cast into a foam latex, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that foam latex tends to get brittle and hard over the years, and thus each time one of these moves accidentally,
right, especially at the motion points and where it's very thin, because they've got to have, you know, the armature has to be a certain size and substance to do what it needs to do, and then the design of the character means you only have so much room, so you wind up with a pretty thin skin on some of these things.
I mean, this represents so much work when you're thinking about a machinist who's making 2, 4, 6, 8 times 4, 64 separate joints, plus the main body joints, plus pickup points for different places to mount a master. Then somebody sculpts, and then they work out putting this thing in.
As you're saying this, I'm thinking I should ask Doug if he has a picture of the armature, because it'd be fascinating to look at that, to show that next to the final puppet, because there's a huge amount of work that's hidden inside of this thing, right?
And also, the final product is so delicate. This foam latex really gets, it rots. It doesn't do well under any ultraviolet light. I have a couple of latex pieces I keep far from every window.
Yeah.
And it's
fragile.
amazingly well preserved for something this delicate.
He always took very good care of it. We did have the crew from Tom Spina. I know you know those guys. They came and did just a little bit of sealing on it. So
nice.
We didn't go too far. It didn't need heavy restoration, but you know, you see light cracking on the surfaces. Basically went in with just a matte neutral sealant that should help preserve it for the future. Obviously, it's a delicate thing by nature. You have to handle it kind of with kid gloves. But that film came out in what? I think Gremlins 2 is maybe 1989.
Yeah, it's 33 years.
Yeah, it's already got some life to it, you know?
It is really rare to see a piece this elaborate in such in such really pristine condition.
Yeah, and people love puppets because I think of what you're talking about with the paintwork, the detail. It's like the scale and how much, just how much there is to drink in and absorb in any given little space of it. You know, it's kind of wonderful.
And Josh, you'll get this on camera. Some of the, like, get a finger in here so people can understand how crazy detailed some of these paint treatments are, you know, airbrushing and extra airbrushing and then airbrushing over that and the color variants. I mean, it's really, really stellar. It's incredible. Okay, but this is the piece I'm even more excited about. And we can actually talk about some stop motion stuff with this because she has deteriorated a little more than these guys. This is Dancing Linda from Evil Dead.
Yeah,
Evil Dead 2.
Comes up out of the ground after Ash has dispatched her and comes back to life. And there's a whole sequence where she kind of does a little dance.
She does a dance and she spins around. She takes off her head and dances without it.
And that's all stop motion. So if you go watch it, it's, you know, you'll very clearly recognize the stop motion. But this is the one and only puppet that Doug Beswick built and used for that sequence.
I love this thing so much, and there's a few things I want to talk about. One is that in the film, I remember seeing Evil Dead 2, and seeing this sequence and being like, oh, Harryhausen, right? Like, it's such an homage to Ray Harryhausen's fighting skeletons and Jason and the Argonauts and all of those beautiful stop motion. But then this is Sam Raimi's directing. And so even though this is a, 12-inch tall puppet, she is still creepy as hell, right? Like, that is such a Raimi move. It's like, it's both funny, but it's also really upsetting. The detail on her eyes and her teeth, the sliced neck, her sagging boobs, it is really disturbing in just the most abiding way.
Like a very creepy doll. Yeah.
What you can see here on the feet is a classic stop motion deal, which is every time a stop motion puppet steps, the animator has to screw that foot into the ground. And usually it's up from underneath. And it looks like there may have been a nut that sat in there so they could do that from underneath.
Yeah.
They also have two different pick points potentially on the foot. And you can see that really clearly how they machined the motion into the feet.
Yeah, and then you can see the knee joint as well.
Yes,
the Allen
there
screw
you go. And that's what I'm
down.
talking about the ball and socket. It's just a really simple 2 plates with a hemisphere machined in each one and a screw for tension.
Yeah. And this one, when you can tell by looking at this leg that there just was not a lot of mass to that foam latex. Obviously, that's gotten dry over the years. This one's deteriorated away. Overall, it's held up pretty well. But again, these things are fragile. I mean, look at the fingers. Look at the wire
these double
joints on the
wraps
fingers.
of steel wire. You can see one of the Allen screws here on the elbow. One of the real key things about stop-mo puppets too, I don't know if you know this, is that frequently they have to include like just a little slice in the latex so the animator could get an Allen into each joint to adjust its tension.
To tighten it back up.
Over a long animation sequence, these things can loosen up, and if they do and they droop during a shot, you're boned. So you have to constantly be maintaining an armature at the same time as you're animating with it.
Yeah, what an art form. Stop motion.
I can't get enough of how really upsetting her face is. Like, Raimi is one of the great horror directors in history, and he makes this is the work of a lot of people, but it's Raimi making the final call of like, no, I want it creepier, I want it more detailed, that's nightmare fuel. Dude, what an amazing trio of pieces. It's incredible that Doug has released these into the public.
Yeah, he's retiring and had them many years, and just when it's time, it's time. It's a thing about collecting. I mean, we all know this. It's like no one's going to have things forever, right? You can't take it with you. So ultimately, what happens to it? And I think the nice thing, we always feel one of the nice things about what we do is it goes to someone else who's going to love it, and it's preserved for the future. I regularly make sure I say about my collection that I am its steward. I don't own this collection. I am currently its steward, and these pieces will all go on to other lives after this. Just come over here. Come over here. I just want to show this back on this head and back. This is some of the most intricate and beautiful creature painting I have ever seen. The back of these ears. This is all super, super, super fine airbrush work. Unbelievable.